Hey, y'all out there in podcast land. Guess who? Yeah, that's right. It's me again, your host, Rude Ronnie Davey for the Get Happy podcast. Let's do this. And I am so thrilled. I've got a repeat offender. My friend. Oh, yeah. And colleague in Access Consciousness. She is also a certified facilitator extraordinaire. Miss Betsy McLaughlin, how are you doing, my love?
Hello, thank you for having me.
It's been a minute. We have both been so inundated with these caregiving skills.
Mhm.
We both have mothers that were in different places as far as caregiving. My mother is actually very still, she's ambulatory. She's sharp as a tack. I would love to get her hearing aids, but she won't have it. She's got hypertension, but she won't take her medication. It's like,
Yeah.
and then you had a little bit of a different situation. And I don't know. So first of all, please introduce yourself to my guests for those that didn't catch our first podcast together, and tell them all the things about you, who you are, what you do, who you be, all the things.
Yeah. Well, hello. As she said, my name's Betsy McLaughlin, and I have been a certified facilitator with playing with the tools of access consciousness for like 8 years, I think, something like that. And and it's completely changed my life. Not really sure I'd still be here on this planet in this body without the tools. I was really, really, really in a very dark place. And using the tools and the questions and everything that Rudrani talks about on all of her podcasts and everything that I do, like it has truly transformed my life in more ways than I can even talk about. There's a lot of subtle things as well as big things. And so I'm just thrilled to be here. And, I adore this lady, you guys, and I hope that you listen to all of her podcasts. They're wonderful. She has a lot of amazing guests. And so it's happy to be here.
Awesomeness. And what I love about Betsy is her generosity of spirit. She is one of these beings that I don't even know how to, we have actually jumped on each other's calls a few times. And she contributes to my calls, and I hope I contribute to your calls.
She does.
And we have this amazing chemistry, and we have each other's backs.
Yeah.
And then we also have this thing in common about our mothers. It's like Dane was talking recently. I don't know if you caught the call about how we have a tendency to make the person that's right there in your face your primary partner. And I made it very clear with my mother. I did a deal and deliver with her and said, listen, lady, you're going to have to help me help you, because I actually still have a life. I moved you in. I adore you. She's brilliant, you guys. I mean, she's my favorite human. And seriously, she is. And I'll do anything for her. And she knows that. And sometimes that can be a bit of a challenge, because we're both very powerful women. And, we've finally gotten into this rhythm because I perceive how much we respect each other and how much we both, well, for me anyway, I'm the happy lady. I'm going to do whatever's fun for me. And she's sort of getting that as well, because when she first moved in, I don't know about you, Betsy, but I would say, okay, my mother's this half glass empty gal, and here I'm this half glass full gal.
Yeah.
It's this, and I finally had to go to the space of what's going to create more. What conversations can I have with her? And we're at this space now where there's this genuine, how can I put it, even honoring maybe of each other, because we, it's like even in the mornings now we both do our own thing. And then finally when we meet in the common room, which is where we get the coffee and all the stuff, there's this space of, hey, how'd you sleep? What's going on? How are you feeling? Da, 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 da. But for you, it's a little bit of a different story.
That's awesome.
So thank you. And I love that we've gotten to that space, because she's
Yes.
really an amazing, amazing lady. And I know that you had a similar situation, but different.
Mhm,
Could you
mhm.
talk a little bit about how you navigated that with these tools and all
Sure,
the things?
absolutely. So my mother started, she's always very fiercely independent, like your mom, and didn't she was driving up until the age of almost 91 until she just got so sick that she really couldn't drive anymore. Right. But yeah, so that was
Oh my
just,
goddess.
yeah, not a typical 90-year-old woman in any way, shape, or form. And that actually served her very well for her to be independent for so long. And then she started out with an illness of kidney cancer about maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and she had to get a kidney removed. And so that started, and then there was treatments, and so that was started, lots and lots of doctor visits and all the things, and then the focus on her health and her care and all of that started, although she still insisted on living by herself. And we honored that as long as we possibly could until it really got to the point, through then the cancer came back, and it came in back through lung cancer, and then more treatments, and just things
And
we could.
she's 91
Yeah,
doing
she
these
was.
cancer treatments. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Hey, y'all, my
yeah,
mother's 88 and she's still teaching piano lessons. She's got a whole
yeah.
new business starting here.
It's
Her students are the best in the state of Tennessee. So I get what you mean by the drive.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
perhaps I got a little
that's
bit of that from
amazing.
her.
Maybe I got some of that from my mom too.
Tenacity, right?
It really is like and she was a very active tennis player for many years. And again, I know that contributed to her overall health for a very long time. And so it just, gradually her health started declining to the point where, we were talking about moving her in, and then she still didn't want to do that. And we're like, okay, and then just different things happened where her health got to the point where she could not be alone, and she fought it, and she didn't want to face the reality of it. And her doctor asked her one time, she was like, her oncologist, she's like, okay, well, what is your plan? When she had all these, and she was in and out of the hospital, and just lots and lots and lots of different crises that she would overcome and then kind of stabilize. And then, so it was like this up and down and up and down and up and down. And so her plan that she told the oncologist, she said, well, my plan is I'm going to die in my sleep. And that's exactly what the doctor said. She's like, well, that's not really a plan. That's all well and good in theory. And, well, what do you do in the meantime? And right. So she ended up having an emergency where she absolutely, from that point on, could not be left alone. And what was really interesting, it was actually Valentine's Day, and we were going over there to bring her dinner. And, she's calling me like hysterical, and we're actually just opening the door to her condo.
Oh,
so
wow.
we're here, Mom. So from that point on, no, we could not leave her alone. And she, again, still fought it. She's like, I'm fine. And then she would, she'd have moments where she was fine, but then she would overdo it, as we all do, right? If we're stubborn people.
Oh my
And
God.
then, right. And then the next thing
Are you sure we don't have the same mother? I mean, seriously, are you sure? We don't, because it's like, oh, okay, oh my God.
Next thing she's flat on her back and going, oh my God, you're right. I can't be alone, so, and then the doctor recommended hospice, which she fought tooth and nail, was in her world. And we had talked to her about hospice a couple years before, and in her world, and I think many people's worlds, hospice means you're going to die tomorrow.
Yeah. Death sentence.
Like that's it. And that's so not what that program is. And I've learned so much about it, and I so respect what they provide for people. They're absolutely amazing. So we finally, when this emergency started, she finally agreed to talk to them. I said, Mom, we can always have the care stop. When you get better, we can stop it. It doesn't mean forever. And one of the wonderful things is they come to you. We don't have to take you out of the house for all these doctor visits. You
Oh,
have nurses that will come to you. The doctor will come. They prescribe the medication. It all comes to the house. So it's just an absolutely amazing program. So we stayed on her couch for 4 months, slept on her couch completely,
you and who
my husband and I.
slept on the couch, y'all.
Yep. He was in one couch in her spare bedroom. I was on the couch in the living room because she would get up multiple times during the night and very confused. And she was on massive painkillers. And, it was like, I couldn't trust that she wouldn't take the wrong medication. And she just, she required round the care help. And she was not in a financial position to hire a nurse to do that. So, it was like, okay, we were the only people that could do it. So we did it. And, and so as you're navigating all this stuff and you're like, what do I do? And you end up putting your life on hold, a lot of things. And you're all of a sudden, this becomes like, what's in your face, what you got to take care of in every moment.
So I have
Yeah.
a question then, because
Yeah.
I know that for me personally, with my mom, if it wasn't for the access tools, I might have killed her by now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and I love my mom. It's
Yes.
just, I've been independent for quite a long time. I was married for a very short time, 5 years before I went to India and got, had my little incident,
Your little incident.
where I got shot by terrorists and couldn't walk.
I like that.
And,
that's a
and he
great point
left-
of view, though.
Yeah, and he left like a year within that, and then started a family with somebody else and all the things. So I had not, I've been on my own since let me think for a minute. 2000, I know. Well, because I got married in 2003, I got shot in 2008, he moved out in 2009, and we were divorced sometime in 2010. And but he'd moved out, and so I was learning how to walk again and all the things, and I have been on my own all that time.
Okay.
And then I'm the one out of 6 children that chooses to move my mother in, and I knew it would be a contribution not just to her but to me.
Yeah.
I do realize that I bit off a lot more than I had
Yeah.
thought I had.
Yes.
I thought it would be easy because we would take vacations together, and it was like easy as pie, y'all. Because we would laugh and carry on, and we were similar in a lot of ways, and we're not in a lot of ways, and that's okay. And that's okay. So for me, if it hadn't been for these tools, I would have either killed her or myself. And I would love to know what you did. I know you feel me. I know you feel me.
Oh, totally.
What you chose to actually navigate yourself through that, because there's a lot of people out there that don't have these tools, and what do? And they end up not killing themselves or their, insignificant others, parents, whatever.
Yeah.
So give me an example of when these tools actually, because I want you guys to know that it is possible. You can always choose differently. You don't have to kill yourself or your mate or your mother or, whatever.
Anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and before, if you go backwards in time, like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I really didn't have much of a relationship at all.
Oh, wow.
No, I couldn't, like, she's strong-willed, I'm strong-willed. And, so like Budrani did, this was us.
Sure. It's weird, 'cause I've always had this tight, I was my mother's primary partner because my father and her were not, they weren't really congruent. Let's just say they weren't in creationship.
Yeah.
You know it, I know what that means. They kind of live their own life in the same house. And so I was the person that she would reach out to, and there's 30 years between us. So a little inappropriate, but we've managed to get to a different place now. So you didn't have the tools 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And
so
she
it was, very, did everything. She was still, working everything, and drove me nuts, and had a lot of very strong opinions about a lot of things that I didn't agree with. She was, racist and all kinds of things, and very judgmental. And I would just react and like that's not okay, and like shut down and just walk. And then she was very critical of me. And, my last visit with you, I shared a lot about the size of my body. And that was a huge thing between us, a huge fight, all like from, childhood on. And, I would fight her on that. So there was a lot of
Well, time out. Let's not
fighting.
that so quickly, because I want people to know that the last podcast we had, I had no idea about this whole COVID weight loss system that Betsy had gone through, where she literally took off 3 coat sizes, because I saw this video. I'm like, what the hell is this? She's like, yeah, I finally decided to choose for me. And she managed to shed, I don't even remember how many pounds you told me.
Yeah, 150 pounds.
Okay, you guys. So don't just brush over that like candy coat, like, oh, and then, the weight loss thing was this big. This lady chose to drop a whole person.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even weigh that.
It's I know. I know.
Crazy for me when I think of, I wouldn't even exist if I lost 150 pounds. So it's like, how amazing. And please acknowledge that. I'm going to acknowledge you. Congratulations. Woo! This is a wonderful thing. All right. So
thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So thank you.
I had to stop you.
You're right. Thank you. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Absolutely. So with the, when I started learning the tools and realizing that I had a choice, that I didn't have to react to what she was doing or saying or not doing or saying. And, for me, like the ones closest to us are the ones who push our buttons the easiest, and vice versa. And so I started really looking at all of my relationships and also with hers, and be like, where could I be in allowance of her points of view and not feel like I have to fix it or change it or argue about it, and just be like, okay, I don't agree with you, but I don't have to fight you.
It's like, if you can be an allowance that that's what they're choosing and not have a point of view about it. But okay, so I know personally I would not choose that, but why am I being a superior asshole and telling them how to choose?
Right.
And that's where I came from. I was like, here I'm impaling this lady who's brilliant, by the way, with my points of view. How is that a kindness? It is not.
Right.
And when we finally got to that energy in that space, I was like, oh my gosh, let her be who she is. And when I was finally in that space of doing that, our relationship shifted like
completely. Mine too. And not only with mom, but really with everyone, including myself. And it's like, allowing them to be who they be, not working, a million hours a day, trying to change somebody who has no desire to change.
Right.
Like, why do I keep, that's just the definition of insanity, right? Keep hitting your head against the wall, expecting that the wall's going to move. And all you're doing is bashing your face in, right?
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome.
Like
Einstein's theory of insanity, by the way, y'all. It's like,
exactly.
What else could I choose here? Well, you could choose happiness.
Yeah.
What could that look like?
Right.
And maybe it's allowance. Maybe that's just one tool or one step, not just allowance for the other, but allowance for you. And if you have to be cranky pants for a minute, it's like, I'll indulge in that for a minute. I'll go in the other room and scream into my pillow. Like, God, what else? What else can I? And then I'm like, wow, Rue, really? Okay. I can choose something different. I can choose something.
Right. And that tool of interesting point of view, like that's the piece, like when we say being an allowance, like interesting point of view, that I have this point of view, like what makes my point of view so much better than anybody else's, right?
Yes, amen.
Right? So interesting point of view, I have this point of view about my point of view. Interesting point of view, I have that point of view about their point of view. Interesting point of view, I have that point of view about their point of view about my point of view. Like, right. So you can just keep doing that and asking yourself to drop your barriers, which is like the kind of opposite of what you want to do when somebody is doing something that pisses you off. You're like, I want to fight. I want the barriers to go up. But if you actually allow them to melt and be willing to acknowledge that we're all different. We all have interesting points of view. So there's not one of us on this planet that doesn't have a lot of interesting points of view,
And I love this conversation because how many of us make our points of view so freaking significant?
Yes. And you'll fight to the death to, on top of your mountain in front of your castle, defending your castle to the death, because my point of view is better than anyone else's. It's like, well, says who?
Right. I know that righteousness piece.
Yeah.
I have been that righteousness.
Oh, me. Yeah.
I mean, superior asshole. I have been that person so many times in my life. And I remember when I was teaching meditation and I had a meditation, I had a facility and I was teaching it like 3 nights a week and then 2 other locations during the week. And you had to sit with a certain hand mudra and you're contemplating your navel and you're eating tofu and the whole thing. And I went, oh my God, I'm making a one size fits all. Not everybody can sit in pretzel pose for hours like I can without their legs falling asleep.
Right.
And they may not even be able to do it, And I was like, who the fuck am I telling people how to find peace, love, and understanding? And I'm trying to put them into, and that's just part of my life. But
pigeonhole people. Yeah.
It's like when the first piece I got from Access, the part that I remember I took bars and then I did foundation and level 1 back in the day when it was a different format. And the part that I took, my takeaway was, wow, I have been a superior asshole my whole life. I've literally been so righteous about my points of view. And then when I finally got to the place of realizing that most of my points of view weren't even mine, I could kind of, in quotes, forgive myself for having them. Because I was like, no, I just bought other people's points of view as right and true without I even asking. Yes. It was true for me.
Yes.
And
and then it's like, what am I fighting for? This isn't even me.
Who am I actually? Why am I supporting somebody else's righteous points of view and buying them as my own lock, stock, and barrel?
Right.
Maybe it's because I don't know I can choose something different. And that was the epiphany. It was like, oh my goddess, I don't have to live like this.
And that question, like, what is true for me? What is true for me that might not be true for anybody else? That doesn't make it any less true for me. Is one of the questions, right, to play with and explore. And so you could play with that interesting point of view and I get to the point where I just laugh at how silly I'm being, and like, oh my God,
this is what I like
again.
Tell me if you do this. It's like I'll get upset about something. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to give myself permission to indulge.
Yep.
Screaming in the pillow or whatever it is. And then like within 3 minutes, I'm laughing my ass off.
Yes.
Like, why would I choose this? For what reason?
Yeah. Right. And so when you actually, so I will amp up how significant I'm making it and turn it into this, over the top telenovela drama thing. And it's the same thing, right? Then you're laughing at, okay. It's like when you watch the child, who's having a fit and throwing themselves on the floor with their arms and legs wailing and flailing around. And you just kind of look at them going, let me know when you're done.
Right.
Instead of
you're kind of looking over their shoulder and going, why aren't you rescuing me?
Right.
You're like giving them permission to
right.
Totally
let me know when you're done. I'm not going to argue with you. You were going to choose that. Go for it. And it's a very different way of being. And in that, it really allows you to start discovering who you truly are.
Amen.
Yeah. And so all of these tools and many, many more were such a gift during this whole time. And then after 4 months, we were like, I would talk to the doctors and the nurses and be like, can you give me a projection? And they're all like, we don't know.
Yeah.
She could die tomorrow. She could last another couple of years. And, she would be, she'd be like this and like, okay. So I can't, and my husband was like, I can't live on her couch anymore. I was like, I know, honey. So, just basically finally got to the point where it was like, Mom, we've got to change some stuff. We cannot continue putting our life on hold. We are bleeding money. We're sleeping on your couch. We're not getting sleep. We've got to be in our home. And you have some choices here. We can't leave you alone. I've investigated bringing in a full-time nurse. It's a lot of money. Insurance doesn't really, in her case, it didn't cover it. Right. So you don't have that. So that is unfortunately off the table. We cannot live on your couch. So that is off the table. So the other choices you have are we can put, find a nice place for you that will care for you 24 hours a day, or you can move in with us and we will care for you and continue the hospice
Or
care.
you can die. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's another choice also.
Right. And you choose when you want to go, Mom. We're not, and I really, really, really stayed out of when she chose to die. Mom, that's up to you. It is up to you. And yeah, because she would be
Let me
like,
add to this
yeah,
piece, because
go for it.
my mother has hypertension. She
Mhm.
will not take the medication. She could have a stroke. So I finally was like, okay, you know what? You're a grown ass woman.
Mhm.
She insists that when she takes the medication, that it makes her drowsy and all this. Well, it's slowing down, her
Mhm.
hypertension. I mean, you can't imagine how high her blood pressure is. And what happens is it's slowing it down. And she has been on this kind of PTSD systems
Mhm.
forever because she's a child of the war and
Mhm.
Italy
Yep.
during
Yep.
the German invasion and all of this
Yeah.
stuff. She saw a friend blow up in a minefield, and she's always been on high alert. She's
Mhm.
never allowed herself to come down from it.
My mom
I
too.
personally
Yeah.
know what PTSD is about because of my
Yes,
own
you do.
so, and I managed to navigate it through it in about 4 months with the help of some brilliant people. And I plan on writing a book about that. That's like,
Mhm.
I have another book project before that one. So before
Get
that,
busy, woman. Get
be book
busy.
5. I know I get bored and I have to do 4,000 things to feel like I'm contributing to this planet. Anyway, so,
I hear
I
you.
finally said to her, if you're not willing to take this medication, I'm not going to make you, because you're a grown ass woman. You can choose what you want to choose. The doctor's telling me the reason why you feel drowsy is because it's actually slowing you down and you're used to being amped up.
Mhm.
I don't take anything. I'm not going to tell you to take anything. I take an
Right.
Advil maybe 3 times a year. It's
Mhm.
like, if I'm in that much pain, I'll
Right.
go there. I said, but what's going to happen if you get a stroke? And she goes, do not resuscitate. And I'm like, lady, here's the thing about strokes. You may not die. You
Right.
might actually continue to live, but then it's going to be harder for me to take care of you, and you're going to hate
Mhm.
it, and I'm going to hate it.
Mhm.
So what do you want me to do? Well, I don't know. I'm not going to take the medication. I said, so this is what I want you to understand, lady. If you don't take your medication and you do have a stroke, which I kind of get that she won't anyway, but if you do have one, you're going to have people take care of you around the clock, and it
Mhm.
won't be
It
me.
will not be me. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to live my life. You can live in my house as long as you like. And we will find people to take care of you because I have the means to go there.
Mhm. Mhm.
But you may not like it. So I just
Right.
want you to know these are your choices. So when I love that you
Right.
said to your mother, these are your choices, we got to do
Mhm.
something different. And she
Mhm.
hasn't gotten back to me on that piece yet.
Mhm.
We were even cutting them in half and having her take them at night because she said they made her so drowsy. I said, great, they'll help you sleep.
Right.
How does it
Right.
get better? She still won't do it. I
Mhm.
talked to my doctor recently because I had my follow-up, and I said, listen, I've put on 2 sizes. She's lost 2 sizes. And I'm not eating any differently. I'm not really working out like I used to, but it's a lot more than I thought it was going to be. And she was like, you need to have that conversation with her. Help me help you. So
Mhm.
that's what I did
Yes.
yesterday. I was like,
Yes.
help me help you, and know that
Yes.
I have a life also. And I love
Yes.
you beyond the beyonds. And if you choose not to take this medication and you have a stroke, that's what's going to happen. I'm just going
Yeah.
to let you know right now that that's what will happen.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And that's really, the same kind of conversation that I had. It's like, I cannot continue to put my life on hold. And that's what we've done for 4 months.
Right.
And, we're not abandoning you. We are very fortunate. We have a beautiful basement. You'll have this basically like a private, 1-bedroom apartment down there. And we mapped it out. We could fit all her furniture. We recreated her apartment. Like we did everything possible to make it as comfortable as for her as that we could. And,
Sure.
she'd been in that place 20 years and she, that was her home and she didn't want to give it up. And I said, look, as best as I can, I understand that. And, but you can't live there alone like that. And she finally got to, and it took a while, and it took probably a month of us repeating this, where she finally could see in her own mind, you're right, I cannot live alone. I know I can't. And meanwhile, they're increasing the amount of narcotics, that she's having to take to, sustain keeping her out of pain, and keeping her as comfortable as possible. So she's like, I would rather live in in a closet in your house than go to a home. Like, okay, then there's your choice, right? And then she's
So
like, okay,
similar. Oh my God, similar thing. Because my mom was like,
funny.
You can move in with me, or you're gonna have to go into assisted living.
Right.
And nobody else wanted her. I was like,
Right.
y'all are whatever. So I'm not even gonna get into all that stuff, all those points of view. But yeah. So I love it. So she finally decided.
She
How
finally
long did
was
she
like,
actually live with you?
okay. And then she, then she went into a pity party for herself, and I allowed it for a bit. And then I finally had enough. And I've always like not expressed things, I hold it in.
I wish I knew
And
what that was
to
like.
keep the peace, right? Because my parents were very volatile. And so I was always the peacemaker. And so she knew, and she knew in her heart of hearts, she knew she needed to move in with us. So it got to the point where she was just whining. And one day I was like, okay, Mom, we need to talk. And I want Dan here with, like Dan and I need to talk to you. Because she had asked some question. Well, why don't you guys move in with me? And I'm like, no, it's a tiny 2-bedroom apartment.
I had that conversation too. I'm like, I can't do what I do where you live.
Exactly. No. And we've got a nice single family, no. And so she pushed me. She wanted to know then and there, not wait for Dan. So I finally like, okay, it is time for you to put your big girl panties on, suck it up. And this is what's going on. And this is everything we will do to make it as easy and seamless for you as possible. We're taking on all of it. All you have to do is get in the car, and we're doing everything else. Mm-hmm. And I said, but how about we start, instead of feeling sorry for, and I said, what would you be saying to me here? And that got her. And she's like, oh. I said, what if we actually are grateful for everything we have? How about if we start practicing the attitude of gratitude, where you have somewhere to go? You're not abandoned. You're not left on the side of the road. People love you and will care for you until the day you die. And we will care for your dog. And we will, because that was a huge thing for her. Like, we love Teddy. We will take care of him. He is family. Like, there's nothing for you to worry about. I will take care of everything. Right. So that's what we did. And finally she started, she goes, you're absolutely right. And then she changed from that one conversation where I was like, that's it. Like, knock it off. Like you would talk to a kid, and really our roles had changed. And I was the mom, and she was the kid. So from that, we moved her in, and we did it as easy, as quickly as we could. And she lived with us a couple of months before she passed away. Wow. And then, the first couple of weeks.
For a minute, I just want to stop you for one second. Can you proceed for a minute the ease that you created for her from that point when she finally acknowledged that she had to go? And I'm sure you were following the energy, and you guys had access, heavy, light. If I choose this, what will it create? And it's like, I don't have hard conversations with my mother every 10 seconds. I don't do that. I know
not at all.
when it's appropriate. I know when it's not. I follow the energy of it. It's like this morning, and she's so funny now because I watch her being a little timid with me now. Like, you have time. I need 10 copies of this. And I'm like, okay. So I took it. You don't have to do it now. And I went, Mother, all I do is put it in the copy machine, and I put 10 and I push a button. If that's the hardest thing I have to do today. And
my life is Riley.
Golden. I had actually on my reformer today. I am ease, joy, and glory. That's awesome. The thing. We're having this conversation. I don't want you guys to get that we're like being hard on our mothers. No,
not at all.
Caring. This is actually genuine caring, because we ask what's going to create the most. We follow the energy. It's like, I'm not going to have a conversation with them unless it's light. And I don't know about you, but this is what I have been doing with my mother. I don't know if this was something you were doing. I used to destroy and uncreate my relationship with her morning, and her with me. Now, every time I see her, I do it. It's like, literally, she walks in the room, I destroy and uncreate my relationship with my mother and her with me. And it's like
And then when you do that, you guys, it creates new possibilities instead of going round and round and round in the same merry-go-round. And that's, like it is such a gift. And yes, I did destroy and uncreate it all the time. And then after a couple of weeks, and there was some adjustment periods and confusion, and when am I going home and all that, then she got to like wanting to decorate. And she's like, oh my God, I love it here. I should have moved in with you 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And like, she was so happy, and it was so peaceful. And she had a backyard where she could sit outside, and we had a beautiful spring. And so she was able to really enjoy the peace and quiet and the nature. It was just.
Celeste has her own she shed. I just want you to know that
Oh
before
my
she moved
gosh.
in, we built her a she shed because she wanted a place to put her stamp collection and all the things and do her yard.
I used to have a rubber stamp store. Well, it started as a rubber stamp store and then turned into a paper art store.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Just a complete aside. Yes.
Side note.
Side note. Yeah, that's amazing.
I love this.
So we created this beautiful space for her. So whether it was, a week or 10 years, it was something, it was such a gift for her, and it was a gift for us as well. And we could finally breathe, it was like, okay. And then of course we had to empty out our apartment and put it on this, put it for sale and all the things, but it gave my husband and I the space to actually create something far greater than where she could imagine, because she was so in the this is going to be horrible, that she couldn't see past it. So through the gift of and through the gift of like the gratitude, everything shifted for her, and it was beautiful to watch.
And that's what it is, you guys, for your life to come to you with ease and joy and glory, even the cranky pants stuff you don't want to deal with. When you have these tools of access where you can learn to follow the energy and say, what's going to create greater here? And you take yourself out of the equation.
Yes.
You don't make it all get up into your own significant self and all the things, righteousness, like I know best or whatever. Hey, what's going to create the most, not just for me and my husband, but for my mother and those things.
And if it had been to move into her apartment, we would have done it, and it really was looking at the energy of it, but seeing the peace. And then she got cold very easily. And there were a couple of cold days before, spring completely got here. And he built her a roaring fire. And we moved the chair in front of the fire, and she stayed for hours, this huge smile on her face, falling asleep in front of the fire with her little dog at her feet. And I was just like, okay, this is the memories that, she's having as her life was drawing to an end. And so the gift that we were able to give her, and for her to know that she was loved and cherished, and, it was just, and to come to that point from where I was, where I didn't talk to her for years, like, what a gift for all of us. And, so.
Oh my goddess. Thank you for being so vulnerable. Cause I can feel it. I don't know what it will be like when my mother is at that point.
Yeah.
She's 88.
Yeah.
My father died at 89, and she's had breast cancer twice. She did have a breast removed. She's, there's a lot, she would say things like, we have to travel before I lose the other breast. I'm like, lady, what you say? All the
things. Don't put that into reality. Yeah.
Can't really travel. We did just recently go to Florida because I was going to facilitate and I had airline miles. I was like, come with me, lady. And we ended up getting one of those ocean views. And it was like $100 more a night, but I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna finally get an vacation, I want to be able to look out and see the freaking ocean every time I look out my veranda or whatever it was.
Exactly.
So it was a sweet, and we spoiled ourselves, and
that's such a gift, and like really truly to soak in every moment, and you never know, like, life really is precious, and it is a gift, and I mean, and so if you choose, like, in the whole thing with your podcast and your book and the way you live your life, choosing happiness. And it took me a while to feel like I'm really back to me, and I feel like that again. And I'm like, oh my God, this has been missing for the past few months, where I've been like in practicality mode and dealing with her state and getting her house sold and this and that. And then I have my work and I have this and right. And I wasn't allowing myself really much time or space for me. And I'm like, oh, that's what I've been missing. Okay. So let's choose different, right? And that's the gift that we can be for ourselves every day, and choose different and choose happy. And today I'm like, I'm me again. And it's like bubbling through every pore of my body. And like, okay.
Can you just give
Right.
yourself permission
Yes.
to be okay with you having to
Oh,
be there
absolutely.
for a while,
Yeah.
but still you stood up for yourself because you had your own back. You had her back and yours.
Yes.
Nobody,
And that was different. Yes.
nobody
Yeah.
suffered through that
No,
whole ordeal, more or less. Yes, you got
no,
lucky,
really not. Yeah.
and and the thing about Betsy, you guys, you don't know, she does a lot of admin work for Access. She's like part of the team. And I did a little bit of it. She does it like full time. I would pop in and out and host different uh certified facilitators. I remember doing classes for Gary and Diane and for Simone and Brendan, and that's mainly the lane that I was in, but not to the extent that this lady does it. And through this entire thing, I would see her on different calls that I would sign up for, and I'd be like, oh girl,
Yeah.
I can perceive the way
Yeah.
girl, because I was kind of going through it too. My mom moves in and within 5 days she gets COVID.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I'm going to lose her, and I'm in the middle of hosting a class for Gary and Dane. Like, oh my God, I'm going to fail. All the things.
Yeah.
And then, just back and forth. She got double pneumonia recently. July 2nd or July 3rd, I had to bring her to the hospital. She didn't want to go. I was like, in your pajamas, lady, we're going. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
And to be whatever is required sometimes,
Yes.
it's not easy.
No, it's not.
But when you have the tools, you're actually going to get through it. And I guess that's the piece that's so beautiful. And that's why I love this conversation so much.
Yeah. And I love that you brought that piece in about not judging yourself, like, because I did make myself wrong for a little bit about like my business kind of came to not much. I just did not have the space for that, for mom full time, for my Access work, for my home, my husband, my home. I'm like, there was no time, and I didn't sleep much. I was lucky if I got maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night. So, I was running on fumes, and it's like, what if that's all okay? What if you absolutely did the best you could do, and you did way more than most people would even consider taking on, And so it's like, oh, you mean I don't have to judge myself? Oh, okay. So when I let go of what judging whether, what I had done or what I hadn't done, and actually step back outside of that crap and acknowledge, everything that I did, that I was, like you said, that I was for me and for her and for Access and for so many people. It's like, oh wow, I'm way stronger and more potent than I've ever realized.
Surprise!
Right?
Not as fucked up as you think you are.
You're not. So what if you guys, like listening to this conversation, can take that in your own life and be like, oh, what could I actually acknowledge about myself that, I normally wouldn't even think of, that was something that I had created or succeeded at, or, however you want to look at it, and actually have gratitude for you and everything you've created.
I love it. This has been an amazing conversation.
Thank you so much.
Oh, really and truly. I can already perceive those that are listening now or in the future, because it's going to live on the YouTube and then all the other channels. If you have any comments or anything, please, put them and subscribe if you like these conversations.
Yes.
Tell me what you would like to hear.
And the thing is, like when there's something new that you've never been through before, and this certainly was very different, and
you have one mother,
right? You have one mother, and you
might have 2 or 3, who knows,
right? But
I had the same mother my entire life, but there are people that have more than one. I get it.
True story. And so if it's uncharted territory, and what if you're doing the absolute best you can, and what if you like actually pat yourself on the back, and you can ask questions like, how could I outcreate this? What could I do tomorrow that's greater than today? And what Rudrani shared earlier of destroying and uncreating your relationship every single day or more than once a day.
Every time
And,
you see the
you know,
person.
yeah. And like remind yourself to drop your barriers and be interesting point of view and allowance for them to be them and choose what they choose. And that keeps your space of you, and you're not bleeding all over everyone trying to make everything better or greater. And you're allowing you to be you and them to be them. And, and choose, you can keep choosing. So if you chose a crappy day, okay, would you like to choose tomorrow? And it's all okay. There's nothing wrong with you, no matter what.
True story.
You are an amazing gift to this world.
Yeah, you guys acknowledge you.
Yeah.
And the universe has got your back. All you got to do is ask and you shall receive.
Yes, truly, truly. And I asked and I got amazing people. It's like, my mom is not easy. And, people were like shocked, the caregivers and everything. They were like, well, no one, like, they were like, well, we'd see why she's still alive, because she is a tough cookie, right? And she was not easy. And she was a gift to them as well, to show them that, hey, just because I'm 91 years old, but don't discount me,
Right.
And yeah, it was a blessing in so many different ways. So I am super grateful to actually be able to talk about this. Thank you. Thank you for your questions and the invitation for this conversation.
Oh my goddess, it's been amazing. So well, there's two things. Tell the folks where they can find you, because I know you have classes and things like that. And then what would you leave our listeners with today?
Okay, well, thank you. You can email me at accessbetsy, Betsy, @gmail.com. And I have a website called creatingyumminess.com.
Very yummy, y'all. So don't check it out.
Yeah. And I do, now that like things have settled, the dust has settled, I have so many things in creation. So, watch out, world. Come play with me. And I know Rudrani and I are going to start creating some stuff together as well. So I can't wait for that. And so the second part of what you said was, what could I leave people with? Yeah, be kind to yourself. That in whatever is insanity or beautiful things are going on and everything else in between, like, be kind to you and acknowledge the gift that you are to everyone in your life. And from there, ask that question, what else is possible here? What else is possible beyond anything I can imagine? And then allow the universe to surprise and delight you.
Yes, because it does have your back, even if you don't have your back sometimes.
Oh, yeah. True story. True story.
So, yeah. Well, thank you for this amazing conversation.
You're so welcome. Thank you. And with the universe having my back, I asked for amazing caregivers, from the hospice people, and every single one who came in was more amazing than the last. So, ask. Don't be afraid to ask too.
That doesn't work at all.
Yeah. She's being facetious, in case you didn't know.
Yeah, it's like, it's so strange. I'll ask for things and then walk away, and then it shows up like magic. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did ask for that, didn't I?
Yeah. And then remember, acknowledge that you asked for it, and then that piece of gratitude, right? Be grateful and say, oh my gosh, what else?
Thank you, universe, because if you acknowledge it, y'all, the universe will give you more. That is no joke. All right. Well, thank you so much, you guys.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you. And if you know of anybody else that could really benefit from this conversation, I know it's a different conversation than I normally have on this podcast. I just had this sense that it could be a big contribution, especially because my cohort in crime here, or whatever you want to call it, co-creation, we've been kind of going through the same thing. And there's a lot of people during lockdown that have had to conglomerate with their families, and they've wanted
a lot of family relationships have changed over these last couple years.
So if you know of anyone else that could possibly benefit from this conversation, please share with them, and know that you can reach out to us on all the platforms. I believe we're both on Instagram and Facebook. And we have our websites. Mine's under my name, rudranidevi.com. all the things. So please just know that we've got your back. And how does it get any better than that? All right.
Absolutely. Bye, y'all.
So until next time, everyone in
Woo.
podcast land, ciao, ciao for now.